I thought I was busting a suspect in an organized scheme, but the moment I saw the gold shield, I realized I'd just handcuffed the man running a secret internal check on our entire precinct. One wrong move had turned a routine patrol into a nightmare that could cost me decades behind bars. I've always told myself that I have a sixth sense for trouble. 5 years on the force will do that to you. You start to see patterns where others see coincidence. You see shadows where others see shade. That night the air was thick with the kind of humidity that makes your uniform stick to your skin, and I was already in a foul mood because my shift was supposed to end an hour ago. I was cruising through the Heights, a neighborhood where the lawns are manicured better than most people's hair, when I saw him. He was an older black man, maybe in his late 60s, wearing a faded gray hoodie and dark trousers. He was walking with a slight limp, carrying a small grocery bag. In that neighborhood, at 11 p.m., he stuck out like a sore thumb. Now, I know what people say about profiling, but in my mind, I was just doing my job. This area had seen a spike in organized schemes lately, petty thefts and break-ins that were clearly the work of a professional group. I was determined to be the one who broke the case wide open. I pulled my cruiser over, the tires crunching on the gravel, and flipped on the overheads. I wanted to see him jump. I wanted to see that flash of guilt that suspects always show when they know they've been caught. But he didn't jump. He just stopped, turned slowly, and shielded his eyes from the glare of my lights. "Evening, officer," he said. His voice was calm. Too calm. That's usually a sign of someone who's been through the system, someone who knows how to play the game and keep their cool under pressure. "Keep your hands where I can see them," I barked, stepping out of the car. My hand was resting on my duty belt, right near my equipment. I felt that familiar rush of adrenaline. "What are you doing out here this late?" "Just walking home," he replied. He didn't look scared. He looked annoyed. "I live 3 blocks down." "Is that so?" I sneered. "Because I don't recognize you, and I know everyone in this zip code. You got some ID on you?" He sighed, a long, weary sound that grated on my nerves. "I left my wallet on the kitchen counter, officer. I just went out for some milk. You can see it right here in the bag." I didn't even look at the bag. My mind was already made up. "So no ID, and you're walking through a high-theft area at midnight. Turn around and put your hands on the hood." "Officer, let's be reasonable," he said, his voice dropping an octave, becoming firmer. "My name is Arthur. If you just let me reach into my pocket, I have a secondary clip-on I can show you." "Hands on the hood. Now!" I screamed. I wasn't going to let him reach for anything. For all I knew, he was part of some group or carrying some illegal weapon. I grabbed his arm. It felt like grabbing a piece of seasoned oak, and shoved him toward the car. He didn't resist, but he didn't make it easy either. He remained stiff, his eyes fixed on mine in the rearview mirror as I clicked the handcuffs shut. The metallic clink usually felt like a victory, but something about the way he was looking at me made my stomach do a slow roll. It wasn't the look of a criminal. It was the look of a judge. "You're making a very big mistake, son," he said quietly. "I've heard it all before," I retorted, reaching into his back pocket. I was looking for anything. Banned substances, tools for a break-in, anything to justify the stop. My fingers hit something leather. A wallet. "I thought you said you left your wallet at home, Arthur," I mocked, pulling it out. Caught in a lie already. I flipped it open, ready to find a fake ID or evidence of an organized scheme. But the first thing I saw wasn't a driver's license. It was a shimmering gold shield, polished to a mirror finish, with the words "Chief of Police" engraved across the top. My breath hitched. Beneath it was a photo, ID. The face on the card was the same face currently pressed against the hood of my cruiser. The name didn't say Arthur. It said Commissioner Arthur Sterling. And I realized I hadn't just arrested a suspect. I had just handcuffed the man who signed my paychecks. The man who had been conducting a secret internal verification of patrol conduct in my very precinct. I looked down at the badge, then back at the man, and felt the blood drain from my face as he whispered, "Are you going to read me my rights, or should I start listing yours?" The silence that followed was louder than any siren I'd ever heard. My heart wasn't just beating, it was slamming against my ribs like a trapped animal. The gold shield in the wallet seemed to glow under the harsh streetlights, mocking me. Commissioner Arthur Sterling. The man was a legend, the first person in 30 years to clean up the city's most corrupt districts. He was known for being the Ghost, a leader who would personally conduct an internal proverca by going undercover to see how his officers treated the citizens when they thought no one was watching. I had just failed the test in the most spectacular way possible. "Commissioner, I didn't realize. The area has been under high alert for an organized scheme," I stammered, my hands trembling as I reached for the key to the handcuffs. My mind was racing, trying to find any justification, any scrap of protocol I could hide behind. There have been reports of radicals moving through the heights. I was just following procedure for a suspicious person stop. "Is that what you call this?" Sterling's voice was like ice. He didn't move. He stayed leaned against the hood, even though I was frantically trying to unlock the cuffs. "Procedure? You didn't ask for my name before you grabbed me. You didn't check the grocery bag. You saw a black man in a hoodie and decided he was a criminal before you even put the car in park." "No, sir, that's not it," I pleaded. I finally got the cuffs off, but he didn't pull his hands away. He turned slowly, rubbing his wrists, his eyes boring holes through my soul. "You talked about an organized scheme, officer," Sterling said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "You're right about one thing. There is a group operating in this neighborhood, a group that's been moving zaprashony veshchestva through these very streets using patrol cars as cover. I've been tracking them for 6 months. I didn't come out here tonight to test your manners. I came out here because I had a tip that a delivery was being made tonight, right on this block." My blood turned to ice. "A delivery? Sir, I haven't seen any other vehicles." "That's because they're smart," Sterling said, looking past me into the darkness of the suburban street. "They don't use vans or motorcycles. They use the people who are supposed to be protecting the peace. They use the organized scheme within the department itself." Suddenly, the crackle of my radio broke the tension. It was my sergeant, Miller. "Unit 42, what's your status? You've been stationary on 5th and Oak for 10 minutes. Do you have a visual on the target?" I looked at the commissioner. His expression shifted from anger to a cold, calculating intensity. He leaned in close to my ear. "Don't answer that. If you answer that, you're deciding which side of the bars you want to spend the next few decades on. Because Miller isn't checking on you. He's checking to see if the path is clear for the shipment." Before I could process what he was saying, a second pair of headlights appeared at the far end of the street. It was another cruiser, moving slowly, its lights off. It was Miller's unit. I realized with a jolt of pure terror that I was caught in the middle of a war I didn't even know was happening. If I stood with Sterling, I was a dead man the second Miller saw us. If I played along with Miller, I was helping the very group Sterling was trying to dismantle. "Get in the car," Sterling commanded, his voice no longer that of a victim, but of a general. "In the back. Now, we're going to see exactly how deep this organized scheme goes." I did as I was told, sliding into the driver's seat while the most powerful man in the department sat in the back, obscured by the tinted windows. As Miller's cruiser pulled up alongside mine, my sergeant rolled down his window. He didn't look at me. He looked at the grocery bag I'd knocked out of Sterling's hand earlier. "You find the package, kid?" Miller asked, a dark smirk playing on his lips. He reached into his jacket, and for a second I saw the handle of a piece of Nezakonwe Orugia that definitely wasn't department-issued. "Or do we need to have a talk about how we handle suspicious persons in this neighborhood?" I looked into the rearview mirror. Sterling's eyes were fixed on mine, waiting. Miller's hand stayed on the weapon. My radio chirped again, but this time it wasn't a voice. It was a series of rhythmic clicks, a code for a high-level vnutrenia proverka gone wrong. My heart stopped as I realized Miller wasn't alone. 3 more sets of headlights were turning onto the street behind him. We weren't just being watched. We were being surrounded. The cold sweat on my palms made the steering wheel feel like it was coated in oil. Miller was waiting, his eyes narrowing as he looked at the grocery bag on the asphalt. He wasn't just a sergeant anymore. He was the head of an organized schema that had turned this precinct into a private delivery service for Zaprashony Veshchestva. "I asked you a question, kid," Miller growled, his hand tightening on the nezakonное оружие tucked into his waistband. "Did you find the package or not? And why are your lights still on? You're drawing enough attention to wake the whole damn neighborhood." My voice felt like it was buried under a mountain of gravel. "Sarge, I think I picked up a wanderer. He's in the back." I was about to process him. Miller's expression shifted from irritation to a predatory curiosity. He stepped away from his cruiser, his boots crunching slowly on the gravel. Behind him, the other 3 units remained idling, their engines a low, menacing hum. A wanderer? In this neighborhood? At this hour? Miller walked toward my rear passenger window. "Let's see what kind of trash you've collected." I looked into the rearview mirror. Sterling's face was a mask of stone. He didn't look like a victim anymore. He looked like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. He gave me a single, sharp nod. It was a silent command. "Open the door." "Wait, Sarge," I called out, my heart hammering. He's got something you're going to want to see." Miller paused, his hand inches from the door handle. "Is that right? Well, let's have a look." He yanked the door open, his posture arrogant and relaxed. The interior light of the cruiser flicked on. For a split second, the world seemed to freeze. Miller stared into the back seat, his mouth falling open as he recognized the face of Commissioner Arthur Sterling. The arrogance vanished, replaced by a look of sheer, unadulterated terror. "Commissioner," Miller whispered, his face turning a sickly shade of gray. "Hello, Miller," Sterling said, his voice calm and terrifying. "I believe you were looking for a package. Unfortunately for you, the only thing being delivered tonight is a tyashkoy obvinenie." Miller's survival instinct kicked in. The wrong one. He reached for his belt, his eyes darting to the other cruisers. "It's a setup," he screamed to his men. "Take them." Time dilated. I didn't think. I just reacted. I threw my weight against my own door, swinging it open and catching Miller in the chest, knocking him back. I scrambled out of the car, drawing my service weapon, but I wasn't aiming at the commissioner. I was aiming at the men I had called brothers only 10 minutes ago. "Drop it! All of you!" I yelled, my voice cracking with adrenaline. The other officers, Miller's loyalists, were stepping out of their cars, their hands going to their holsters. We were outnumbered 5-1. I thought this was the end. I thought I'd be another statistic in a report about a tragic misunderstanding. But then the night sky was torn apart by a dozen high-intensity spotlights. From the shadows of the manicured lawns and the dark alleyways, teams of the Sluzhba Vnutrенней Безопасности swarmed the street. They hadn't been blocks away. They had been right there the whole time, waiting for Sterling's signal. "Drop the weapons! Federal internal proverka! Nobody move!" The surrender was pathetic. Miller's men, seeing they were trapped by an entire tactical unit, dropped to their knees. Miller himself was pinned to the ground by 2 agents, his face pressed into the same gravel where he'd tried to intimidate me. Sterling stepped out of the back of my cruiser, smoothing his gray hoodie as if it were a tailored suit. He walked over to Miller, looking down at him with a mix of pity and disgust. "You thought the badge was a shield for your organizovanная schema, Miller. You forgot that the shield is supposed to protect the people. not your profits." Then he turned to me. I was still standing there, my hands shaking, my weapon lowered, but not holstered. The weight of what I'd done, and what I'd almost done, was crashing down on me. I had profiled a man based on the color of his skin and the clothes he wore, and in doing so, I had nearly handed the commissioner over to a group of criminals in uniform. "Officer," Sterling said, walking toward me. "Sir," I whispered, unable to meet his eyes. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was so incredibly wrong." "Yes, you were," Sterling said, his voice firm. "You were a textbook example of everything wrong with this department. You saw a shadow instead of a man. You saw a threat instead of a citizen." He paused, looking at the handcuffs still hanging from my belt. "But when the pressure was on, when you realized the truth, you chose the right side. You didn't protect the brotherhood over the law." He reached out and took my badge from my chest. My heart sank. I thought it was over. "You're on administrative leave, effective immediately," Sterling continued, "pending a full investigation into your conduct tonight. And if you ever want this back, you're going to spend the next 6 months in retraining, working directly under the Internal Checking Division. You're going to learn how to see people again, not just targets." He handed the badge back to me, but he didn't let go until I looked him in the eye. "The badge doesn't make you a hero, son. What you do when you think no one is watching, that's what defines you." As the sirens of the transport vans approached to take Miller and his crew away to face dozens let of jail time, I watched the commissioner walk away into the darkness, a grocery bag with a carton of milk still clutched in his hand. I stood there in the quiet of the heights, a changed man, knowing that I had been given a second chance and that I would spend the rest of my career trying to earn it.